BolivianHighCommand. It's the BolivianHighCommand. It's the best, all the rest. The BolivianHighCommand.
Welcome back to the channel. Today, the BHC will discuss the optimum Atterax build. If you want to Spin2Win room clear, it's hard to do better than the Atterax. But which build is best? The Atterax is a great weapon to use with maiming strike due to its long range and large crit multiplier. Most people agree that a Spin2Win Atterax build needs pressure point, reach, crit damage, maiming strike, and a speed mod. However, that only leaves 3 mod slots open. Do you just stuff elementals in there? Do you go for combo counter and blood rush? Is weeping wounds worthwhile? What's best? Today, we'll test all these ideas and more using cold hard numbers. That's right. Damage numbers will be measured and compared in the simulacrum. In order to build a Spin2Win Atterax, you will need to forma your Atterax at least twice. Slide attack damage is the same for both stances, so you can stick with Burning Wasp. Max prime pressure point, max primed reach, organ shatter, and maiming strike. Lastly, you need a speed mod. Berserker is recommended, but max prime fury is competitive if you don't like the Berserker mechanic. Berserker is strictly better than normal fury. First, let's look at a pure damage elemental mod build. With 3 slots open, it makes sense to go with 2 90% elementals and 1 60% elemental. This will let us select a single elemental combo damage type, all viral damage, corrosive, magnetic, or gas. It'll be 285.6 damage points of your chosen combo on top of the IPS damage. We'll measure a magnetic build Atterax versus level 145 chargers. Magnetic damage is unbonused versus infested chargers, although slash has a small bonus. Against a single charger, we get 5,224 damage, with a slash proc tick equaling 506 points. The combo counter reaches 1.5 on the killing blow, which accounts for the 7836 damage number. In builds without body count or drifting contact, we often assume the combo multiplier can be safely ignored. This is false. The counter refresh window lasts 3 seconds, and this is long enough to usefully boost your damage when using a fast, long-range weapon like the Atterax against groups of enemies. In this example, we attack a group of level 145 infested chargers and tabulate the damage numbers as the combo multiplier rises. After 7 spins and the death of the last enemy, total freeze frame damage is 199,422. Without the count multiplier, this would have been 99,710. Against any group that lasts longer than 2 spins, we see that our damage is doubled, even without building for combo counter duration. Finally, we note that the damage numbers versus the group deviate substantially from what we saw against a single charger. If we accumulate these numbers and normalize by combo multiplier, we get the following graph. Here we see only 4 damage strikes at 5224. The rest of the numbers are in the mid 4000s and the upper 3000s. Many damage numbers seem to repeat. If we histogram the data, we get this graph. If we then divide the bottom axis by 5224, we get a percentage histogram, which usefully tells us that the damage probability is spread between 66 and 100%. With a peak around 90%. Now let's look at a combo counter duration build. We'll call it the Blood Rush build. With 3 slots open, we slot drifting contact or body count and maximum blood rush. This leaves 1 slot open for damage, and we'll use Buzzkill because 120% slash gives more damage than a 90% elemental. We test this build against a level 145 Ancient Disruptor. The slash damage on the Atterax has a 15% bonus against this unit. During the initial 4 strikes, Blood Rush doesn't come into play, and the crit chance is just 115%. Yellow crits will be 3,440 damage, and orange crits will be 6,277 damage. Once the 5th strike is made, the combo counter reaches 1.5 and Blood Rush takes effect. The crit chance rises to 399%. Almost every strike becomes a quadruple crit, which with combo multiplier becomes 17,927 damage. The final strike is a quadruple crit headshot, which on paper gives 71,700 damage. Finally, we examine the performance of the Blood Rush build against a group of level 145 Ancients. The combo multiplier rises to 2x by the 3rd spin and stays there. At double multiplier, the Blood Rush build has a 494% critical chance. Almost every spin is a quintuple crit, with a 24.5 times damage multiplier. When a single spin hits multiple enemies, the damage decreases for each additional target hit. Thus, the range of decreasing damage numbers seen when attacking groups. This accounts for the damage spread we observed earlier with the elemental build. The slash status effect should tick for 4357 damage at 2x multiplier. This is reduced by the multiple enemies effect, and we arrive at 3800 damage, which is very close to what we observe. Even taking into account the damage drop-off due to multiple enemies, we still can't account for many damage numbers. For example, here we count 5 target hits in one spin, with the first target seeing 35,000 damage and the last seeing 25.8 thousand. This is consistent with a single target damage of 35,000, which is achievable with a sextuple critical. But at 2x multiplier, the maximum single target damage should be around 30,000, a quintuple critical. The reason for this discrepancy is unknown. Let's compare the damage output of the Blood Rush build to the Elemental build. The Elemental build puts out 5,000 single target damage in the initial slide attack. The Blood Rush build damages for about half that during its first spin. Slash tick damage is the same for both builds at 500 points. If we were to judge the builds by the first slide attack of the mission, then the Elemental build is the clear winner. But Tenno face hundreds of enemy in a typical mission, not just one. Once the combo counter reaches 5 strikes, the combo multiplier rises to 1.5x. This quite frequently occurs at the end of the first spin. At 1.5x multiplier, the Elemental build is putting out 7,000 single target damage with slash ticks unchanging at 500 points. The Blood Rush build, however, is now doing 19,000 single target damage, with the slash status ticking for over 2,500 points. Once the combo counter reaches 15 strikes, the multiplier rises to 2x. This can happen by the end of the second slide attack, if you're facing a large group. At 2x multiplier, the Elemental build is doing 10,000 single target damage, with slash ticks at 500 points. The Blood Rush build is now doing over 30,000 damage, with slash ticks doing close to 4,000 points. Furthermore, the Blood Rush build will mostly stay at 2x multiplier indefinitely, because it is easy to strike another enemy within 10 seconds. In contrast, the Elemental build will invariably drop back to 1x multiplier between enemy groups, because the base 3-second window is just too short. Although the Blood Rush build is better than the Elemental build, there are some variations on it that we should consider. Our base Blood Rush build has a crit damage mod, but not crit chance, other than Maiming Strike. What if we remove a mod and add True Steel? What mod to remove? Is it worth it? Blood Rush and Drifting Contact form the core mechanics of this build. We can't do without them. That leaves us just Buzzkill to swap for True Steel. Here, we hope the reduced base damage is compensated for by the increase in critical multiplier. We test this build on a level 145 charger. At 1x multiplier, the predicted yellow crit damage is 1774, the observed damage is 1772. The orange critical with this build does 3200 damage. An orange crit with the Blood Rush build does over 6000 damage. At 1.5x multiplier, half the slide attacks are quad crits and half are quintuple crits. The quintuple crit does 11,000 damage. With a Blood Rush build, every spin is only a quad crit, but it does 19,000 damage. In summary, the True Steel build greatly underperforms the Blood Rush build. Damage output is roughly halved. Another alternate Blood Rush build is the Weeping Wounds build. In this build, we swap Buzzkill for Weeping Wounds. This greatly enhances the chance of inflicting a slash status effect, but lowers weapon damage. We test the Weeping Wounds build against 4 level 145 chargers. At 1x multiplier, the chance of inflicting a status effect is 28%. Of these, 90% will be slash. 28% times 90% gives us a net 25% chance of inflicting a slash status. At 1.5 multiplier, this chance rises to 42%. Although substantial, it's unlikely to be sufficient to make up for the loss in weapon damage. In this freeze frame, none of the 3 1.5 multiplier strikes resulted in a slash status. Weapon damage for the Weeping Wounds build is very similar to that of the True Steel build. Here we see the 1.5 multiplier red crit damage is consistently a 9,000 point quadruple crit. We also see the 1.5x slash tick damage for the first time. It is a substantial but not outrageous 2,000 plus points. Of the 9 red spin crits inflicted on these chargers, 5 gave slash status effects. This is somewhat better than the average chance of 42%. 2 of the chargers died from a slash dot, 2 from weapon damage. The combat takes around 10 seconds from first slide to last enemy death. Total weapon damage is around 70,000. Total dot damage is somewhere around 35,000. Although a total damage of over 105,000 sounds impressive, the Blood Rush build would have inflicted 140,000 in weapon damage alone. Clearly, the Weeping Wounds build does not match that performance. But what about heavily armored targets? The Weeping Wounds build might be competitive against high-level Grineer, where the weapon damage is negligible, but the dot damage does full effect. Here, we attack 4 level 145 bombards. They each have 15,000 alloy armor and 94,000 health. This grants them 99% damage mitigation versus the Atterax. The first bombard dies 17 seconds into the fight. The last one dies at 19 seconds. This suggests the bombard suffered a bit over 5,000 health damage per second. This is consistent with the bombards having 2 simultaneous slash status effects on them at all times. A look at this freeze frame backs up this hypothesis. Now let's look at how the Blood Rush build performs against the same bombards. Although the red weapon damage looks impressive, it's only striking for 400 points, and each bombard has 94,000 health. I count 27 weapon strikes, which gives us a total weapon damage of 11,000 divided 4 ways. A drop in the health pool bucket. The first bombard dies in 9 seconds, the last dies in 16 seconds. The first suffers on average 10,000 damage per second. The last bombard suffers 5,600 damage per second. This is not unreasonable for slash dot damage. Yet this performance is superior to the Weeping Wounds build, where the first bombard took 17 seconds to die. What do we make of this? First, both builds have identical dot damage, 2,600 at 1.5x multiplier and 3,300 at 2x. The only difference is in the status chance, 28% for Blood Rush and roughly 50% for Weeping Wounds, depending on the combo multiplier. Although on average the Weeping Wounds build should outdot the Blood Rush build, the data shown here do not represent good averages. This makes sense. The numbers are too small. We only have 4 enemies, we only strike 20 or 30 times, we only generate a handful of slash procs. A lucky slash status head hit here or there can make a huge difference. Yet this fight, though statistically insufficient, is perfectly representative of something you might encounter in a mission. Thus, the bottom line is that both the Blood Rush build and the Weeping Wounds build do a lot of dot damage, and their dot performances are, practically speaking, highly variable. In any particular fight, it is no sure thing that the Weeping Wounds build will outdot the Blood Rush build. It is difficult to make a case for the Weeping Wounds build over the Blood Rush build in any circumstance. The Blood Rush build outperforms consistently against everything without crazy armor mitigation, and against these targets, the Weeping Wounds build still doesn't reliably outdot the Blood Rush build, if 50% versus 28% status chance isn't enough of an edge. We've covered a lot of Spin2Win Atterax builds, the Elemental Damage build, the Blood Rush build, the True Steel build, and the Weeping Wounds build. If the BolivianHighCommand had to recommend one build, it would be the Blood Rush build. But hey, you're a Big 10-0, and you can make your own decisions. Tell me what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you saw, hit that button.